for us. Danny.
Morning.
It's just a pleasure to have Danny here. I got to tell you, when I learned that we were going to do this event here, I couldn't have been happier because, I don't know if you know this, but this property, through Danny, has been a very strong advocate in use of their national standards and certification programs in their sector. And of course, they've worked with Nova Scotia Human Resource Council for that. So this is an example of an exemplary property that has been very engaged in the use of standards and certification. Yesterday, I think you asked, I'm not sure who asked, I forget now, what's the opinion of an employer and the experience of working with these things? We have a real live employer here, and a really good example. So we thought we would throw him up in front of the audience and put him to the wolves and hear his story. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm sorry I don't know the context of all your conversations so far. It's to be as relevant as possible. So I guess what I'll do. Sorry?
I just think you need a microphone, sir.
Oh, okay. Or I'll speak louder.
No, we're videotaping it, so we're
I see.
recording you.
Okay. It's fine. You have standards. Test. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Can you hear me? Story in White Point and Standards it's a long story, so I'll try to keep it really short so you can go out to your coffee break afterwards. And it started, for me, about a dozen years ago. I've been here at White Point now for 30 years. It was a very easy property when I first came. It was only open for a few months of the year in the summertime, and it was about half the size that it is now. And we had lots of standards, but they were all up here. And they were all mine, and they were very easily managed because there were so few people that actually worked here. As time went on and we grew larger and larger, we suddenly started tripping on things, and we suddenly started tripping on our own big feet and good intentions because we had very high standards and very inconsistent standards all over the place. And everybody who came to work at White Point brought their own standards, which was another interesting. I always use the example of food and beverage manager because when you're a more seasonal operation, you tend to turn over people in that department, or we used to. And every time a new food and beverage manager would come in, they'd bring the dining room training manual that they stole from the last place that they worked. And then all of a sudden, I had the standards of some other place, and it could have been a Wonderland in Amherst, or it could have been a Holiday Inn in Halifax, it could have been from anywhere. It wasn't our standards, it wasn't our deliberate decisions on what it was that we were going to do. So we needed to start building what White Point was, the definition of what White Point was, what we wanted to do. We wanted to be deliberate about everything that we were going to put forth to our guests and put forth to our staff. And when I think about our staff and our financial statements, I think I mentioned it to Darlene a little while ago, is over 50% of our financial statement and expense is human resource. And it's one of our most important resources that we use here when we're providing our services at White Point for all of you. And to not manage that resource carefully and deliberately and with standards and with strong decisions all the way along, we're losing an opportunity. We're not maximizing what could be. So we started looking for ways to work with quality and standards and how to put them all in one place. And I spent a number of months searching different programs, and I finally ended up at an ISO certification goal. I decided that we should become an ISO certified company. I picked it, and they're all very similar when you think of quality programs that are out there because the principles are the same. You have to have training and communication and established standards, and you have to have feedback and performance review. You have to be looking at what the customers want. You have to be providing things. All quality programs are basically the same. I picked ISO because a number of our customers understood what ISO meant. It absolutely meant nothing to the hospitality industry. It has nothing to do with tourism. It's a standard that was established by car companies in Detroit many years ago, and it's changed over the years, but it's a service providing standard. So it is what we wanted to do. From there, we had to build, and the theory of ISO in any quality program is you say what it is that you're going to do, very deliberately, very explicitly, in every way, shape, and form. You do it with your people do it, and you prove that you do it. Those are the 3 steps. So you say what you do what you say, and you prove it. And you're able to prove it objectively, you're able to prove it externally. So we actually have people that come in and audit us. We go through twice a year internal audits, we also go through external audits. So we can prove to the world that we do what we say that we're going to do in providing standards. And then to say what we do that explicitly on paper, real old form. This is just one example. This is my front desk ISO binder. This is just the procedures at our front desk in defining how it is that we provide services at the front desk. There's another whole binder that holds the forms that they use at the front desk. There's another binder that has what's called a general section, and that's a piece of our procedures that every department has in common, and that could be payroll standards that we have that are cross-departmental. The front desk specific ones are right here. So every department has one of these. We've been rebuilding these as we've been rebuilding the lodge, because when the fire came, those went. Obviously they were all still electronically kept, but there was so much in them that had to change as well, just because the facility changed itself, and how we maintain this room, how we clean these light fixtures, how we do all the things that are here, how many muffins are on that tray, depending on the number of people that are in the group. All of those things are defined. So, and the next thing that we do is we determined all of those things. Sorry, I'm trying to speak quickly. We determined all of those things and wrote all of these procedures and determined all of these standards in work groups with staff. Staff did them all, so staff know how they work. These are living documents within each department. They don't sit on the shelf. They are our training documents. They are our communication documents. There is a way to change them. And I actually was discussing changes with somebody who works about a quarter of her time is changing documents and changing procedures and changing forms. And it's keeping up-to-date communications between all the departments. When something happens, an accident on property, there's an accident form that everybody can access. I know that everybody will be using the most up-to-date form. I know that all of the boxes will be there that I want filled in now, that I need for liability, for insurance, for all those things that we have to manage. Because that's the other thing around here. I don't manage a hotel, I manage liability. We all do, dealing with the public in any way. So those forms, because they're controlled as far as how they're updated, and everybody's communicated with at the same time for those changes, everybody's got the same form. But all of the staff are also involved in continual changes in the procedures. So they establish them, and now they have a process to change them. In fact, there's incentives to change it and update it and make it better all the time. So for us, the human resource side of it, and we embraced national certification through the Human Resource Council because it is established, it's professional, it's something for my staff members to aspire to. It's great pride in different departments when a new housekeeper becomes a certified housekeeper within her department, or a dining room server they get the PIN, they've done the study, they passed the test. It means a lot to a lot of people. It also means that it's providing my foundation and a consistent foundation of communication between the departments on what is happening out there for standards. It just fits so beautifully well in my own quality program overall to have those tools that are there. It is something that people aspire to. It is something that I sponsor myself. There's requirements that are common property-wide that you've got to pass the test and you've got to get it. If you don't pass it the first time, then you're going to pay to rewrite it. But you will eventually pass. I have department supervisors that have study groups at times with their staff, which creates another whole wonderful dynamic of communication and coaching and the work team atmosphere that just happens naturally. So that's been very successful for us. Even just simple celebration once a year of everybody getting together in the province and in the tourism world that attains their certification is something that's looked forward to in a big way for a lot of my staff when they do attain their certification. The other thing that it helps when it comes to something like national certification in my staff is it gives them a peer group. And as an industry, we have challenges in the tourism industry to be considered a viable career option, to be considered not just an entry-level position. And the pride that comes out of having a peer group across the country, of other groomkeepers that have aspired to do this, or other banquet servers or wine stewards to do this. It's been very positive for my staff. They have great pride when they do achieve their certification. Yeah, it's notes actually. If there's any questions, interrupt me as well. I mean, I'm happy to speak about it because I'm really proud of what my staff have accomplished in this. I mean, it creates leaders. It's something that really does breed good morale overall. Question? Yes?
Is every occupation associated with the lodge certified or?
All that are available, all aren't available yet. There's some, like my maintenance engineer, there isn't a national certification yet for that. There's always new certifications coming online, and when they do, I definitely embrace them. There's some occupations that have their own external certifications, like accountants. My chef, the Red Seal Chef program, that it's a national program, but it doesn't fall under the Human Resource Council National Standards and Certification Program. So eventually they will do that. I think that hotel manager was just about to, so may challenge that. Yeah. Any questions, sir?
Can you tell us anything about the type of feedback you have received from your clients based on certain standards that you?
Based on picking ISO, you mean?
Well, based on, obviously, listening to everything you've done, it must have a very positive effect on service that you provide to
We measure that all the time, so I can tell you exactly, and it's really interesting. The first thing I do when I come in is I pull the comment cards. You would do that comment cards, and then the first thing I do is read them all, and then there's a way they get communicated. Any written comment, for example, is recorded on a spreadsheet. So the coffee was cold, the coffee was great. They're all written, every single one. Do you wish we had something else that we're not offering? There's another category where that's filled in. And that marries up with my reservation desk as forms that they fill out when somebody asks for something that we don't have. And it all funnels into these reports. And twice a year when we do our internal audits, other than I read it every morning just to make sure there's nothing immediate that has to happen. And if somebody said, Stacy, the dining room was great, that comment gets passed on to her. But every 6 months, all those comments are put in one place, all those numerical scores are collated, all of those things, and we sit down for a day and go through them as a management team, and then that shared at the property as well. So the feedback collection is huge. So yeah, absolutely. I can tell you exactly. And what happens is, out of that meeting, we set what's called quality objectives for the next 6 months. So we look at what was strong, what was weak, we say, okay, where do we want to nudge, where do we want to focus our attention? When I asked my chef and the food and beverage manager those scores, if we're getting an average of 4.2 on presentation, or if we're getting a 4.3 on value, we say, okay, in the next 6 months, what's the goal going to be? Where are we going to get better? There's opportunities here. What are you going to do better? And how are you going to get there? Because you got to have a plan to get there, you're not going to get there. You got a goal, and you got to figure out how you're going to get there. And it's very explicit. It's all, and the most wonderful thing about standards is it's all objective evidence. It's all, there's no emotion in any of it. When that score is it's 4.3, that's reality. We've been told, so that's what it is. Perception is reality. Things that we can measure, that's reality. The number of times the pool readings were off. It's just reality. It's objective evidence. And there's something showing that more training is needed somewhere, it's easily picked up. And you just say, more training is needed there. It's not, you're doing a terrible job or there's a problem, there's an issue, there's something to be addressed. And that's one of the beautiful things with explicit standards that are objective, completely objective. That's what I like. My comfort zone is wonderful. Any other questions?